Kickstart your bug hunting career with BugCrowd. BugCrowd is the largest security research community in the world, and it helps companies such as Tesla, Simple, Western Union, Spotify and many more with cybersecurity, paying anywhere from a simple thank you to $15,000. Begin your bug hunting career at bugcrowd.com/jacktutorials. Hey guys, welcome back to a new episode of Explained. In this episode we are going to be looking at the OWASP Top 10. This is a very important thing to know if you want to become a security researcher or ethnical hacker. So let's get started. The OWASP stands for Open Web Application Security Project. It is a list of the top 10 most critical web application security risks, and for each risk it'll provide a description, example vulnerabilities and attacks, and guidance on how to avoid these security risks. If you are someone who is making a website or head of cybersecurity at a company or a security researcher, then you should be aware of the OWASP Top 10. Essentially, it raises awareness for security issues in websites and is kind of like a checkbox system to decide whether or not your website or web application is vulnerable or not. The current version of OWASP Top 10 was released in 2013 with an update expected to be 2016 or 2017. You may be thinking that it sounds outdated because the last update was 2013, however many of the security vulnerabilities within the 2013 version are still very apparent today. The OWASP Top 10 is also totally free for personal and business use, which is awesome considering what it can potentially do to fix vulnerabilities even if the creators didn't know they existed. OWASP has released a mobile top 10 risks as well, which is also free, as well as some other top 10 checklists which you can find on their website. The creator of OWASP is Dave Witchers, who is a co-founder and chief operating officer of Aspect Security, which is a consulting company that specializes in application security services. He was also one of the people who helped to establish the OWASP Foundation in 2004, but had been involved in OWASP since 2002. He had served on the OWASP board since 2004 to 2013 and had been a co-author of the OWASP Top 10 and has led the project since 2007. Dave is also involved in developing a new type of application vulnerability analysis technology that uses instrumentation to detect vulnerabilities inside of running web applications. This is called Contrast. You can read the full bio of this guy using the link in the description, as he's been involved in lots of projects, conferences and much more. So let's take a look at what the OWASP Top 10 contains. Within the document it contains the security threats with a number next to them. I believe that this also serves as a threat meter, starting at 10 being the least dangerous to number 1 being the most severe. At number 10 we have the unvalidated redirects and forwards. Is when it is possible that a web application accepts an untrusted input that could cause the web application to redirect to the request URL contained within the untrusted input. This could mean it make it possible for an attacker to launch phishing scams and steal user credentials. At number 9 is using known vulnerable components. This is where an attacker can use things like framework libraries, plugins and such, where the attacker can have an exploit for a particular component and gain access to a website that way. And number 8 is cross-site request forgery, also known as CSRF, which I've covered before, but this is how an attacker can cause a user to change their password, change their username, change their email, send private messages from their account, etc. at the click of a link. It is how an attacker can get an unexpected user to click a link and complete a request without them knowing. I've covered this on my channel before, like I said, and I recommend that you watch it. At number 7 we have missing function level access control, which is where an anonymous user can access private functionality or a regular user can carry out privileged user functionality. This isn't privilege escalation as such, but can more regular users access URLs that are not meant for them. For example, if I browse to admin.php on a website when I'm logged in as a regular user, will I get kicked out or will I be able to see the admin page? At number 6 we have sensitive data exposure, which is where an attacker can gain access to your sensitive data or backups of this data. This is both customer side and business side. This also is to do with the way that you handle private information such as passwords and whether or not they are hashed, and also if that hash algorithm is outdated or not, for example MD5. I recently told a story of how I ended up on a website where I could browse through a folder called data, and within the data folder I could actively download database backups and open them, which contained usernames, passwords, which of course were in plain text, as well as clients who had purchased from the website including their full address, email address, full names, phone numbers and much more. This is an uncommon threat however, but it is labelled as severe. At number 5 we have security misconfiguration, which is to do with software being out of date such as plugins, content management systems, database management systems, etc., as well as unnecessary features installed or enabled which could expose a potential weakness. This is a common security weakness that is easy to detect, which is why keeping your software up to date and disabling any services that are not used is important. At number 4 we have insecure direct object references. This is about the types of system data that is accessible by users and whether or not they have permissions. For example, if a user logs into your web application and their URL changes to usercp.php id equals 4, with 4 being their ID number, if they change that to a 1 so that it says usercp.php id equals 1, can they see the data on that page for ID number 1? If they can, then that's the security risk. At number 3 we have cross-site scripting or XSS. I've also covered this on my channel, but essentially this is being able to run JavaScript on the website. For example, making pop-up boxes appear, a cookie stealer, or in the case of the famous MySpace worm, a self-replicating worm that spreads across the website. Like I said before, I've covered this a lot, so feel free to check it out. At number 2 we have broken authentication and session management. This is in reference to a lot of things such as passwords not being stored hashed, session IDs being stored in the URL, session IDs not timing out, credentials can easily be bypassed through the use of a weak account management function such as forgot passwords, or even passwords and session IDs being sent over an insecure connection such as HTTP. And finally at number 1 we have injection. This is the most common and severe attack, and it is to do with SQL injection. This is the art of being able to inject SQL code into a website and being able to retrieve data from a database such as username and password credentials. It can also be used to outright bypass login forms. I've covered this a lot on my channel too, and I recommend that you check it out. So that is what the OWASP Top 10 is. It is really important to know when it comes to checking web applications for vulnerabilities, as not all companies and people who design web applications check the things they make against the check sheet. It's free, so there's no reason why you shouldn't use it. I have left relevant links in the description below, including all links to all of the different security threats that I have mentioned. But that's it for this episode of Explained. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed making it, and if you haven't already, give the video a like and share it with people you think will also enjoy the video. Also subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I try to upload 4 videos a week, so you will have plenty of stuff to watch. And finally, follow me on Twitter, that is at Jack1337. Like me on Facebook, that is Jack Tutorials, and also follow me on Twitch, that is Jack1337. And until next time guys, I will see you again in the next one.